One of the things in which we're looking for is of that just comes part and parcel with working on projects to do with fuel poverty, or energy vulnerability, as it's sometimes known as, is vulnerability in the home. So many people may have very different types of requirements and may be vulnerable for many different types of reasons. One of the extra support things that I mentioned earlier would include the Priority Services Register. So this is a register where vulnerable people can access. So it could be an elderly person, it could be a family with a young child, it could be someone with a health condition. It's very wide ranging that people can access the Priority Services Register, but it's very simple to do. It can be done through the energy supplier, through the district network operator. So that could be Northern Power Grid, Northern Gas Networks, or Cadent. And this gives access to services such as like a password or a bill nominee scheme. So again, if someone lacks the capacity to look after their energy account themselves, they could nominate someone to speak on their behalf, and they give the consent for that person to act on their behalf. And that can be very important when we're going into somebody's home, or we're helping someone on telephone and we're trying to liaise with suppliers. We need the consent for the actual account holder. So that's a very important aspect for people who don't have that capacity to deal with those kind of issues themselves. You can have bills in different kinds of format, large print, braille, meter reading service. So it's very important that, and there's been a lot of emphasis, certainly in the last 6 months, about accurate meter reads. Because we've had many different suppliers going bust, some being taken over by others. So it's very important that we have accurate meter reads, and then we get billed for exactly what we use, rather than having estimated bills. And the meters may be located in a difficult to access position. It could be under the cupboard, in the cellar. So having a meter reading service for those people who aren't able to access the meters, it can be very helpful in managing bills. Smart meters also can come into play in this aspect. Have meters moved to a more accessible location within a limit for the same reasons. One of the major aspects, I think, for the Priority Services Register is having updates.
We've lost you, Simon. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Is that okay? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Simon.
Yeah.
Where did I get up to where you couldn't hear me?
Down to the meter moving.
Okay, fine. That's fine. Yeah, and the meter moving for the same reasons. For it's difficult to maybe access the meters, to read the meters, so they could be moved to a more accessible location. One of the major aspects, I think, for the Priority Services Register is having updates on notifications. If there's going to be, say, for example, some planned works on the electrical network within a certain area, and there'll be people in those areas who are vulnerable and may be dependent on electricity for, say, for medical equipment, or even just to keep medicines in the refrigerator, or for a stair lift. So those people would need some kind of notification, because they would have to put some kind of steps in place during the time they were off supply. And similarly, if there was an unplanned interruption to supply, say for example a storm or a flood, and people are put off grid for a while, then measures can be put in place to try and support those people for the length of time that they may be off grid, such as like generators. The Priority Services Register, it doesn't just apply to energy. You also have water providers like Yorkshire Water, for example. They have their Priority Services Register. So if, say, pipes become frozen, bottled water can be sent out for them, and they have other support services as well as part of their register. And a free gas safety check as well. That's as it's written there, subject to further criteria. But also a very important aspect that people, just a reminder here, that people do have, regular gas services, but obviously people who are tenants of Johnnie Johnson will have that as part of the tenancy.